Welcome to the Pixel Retentive Podcast, where we, a business owner and an artist, discuss the business of art and the art of business. Hey friends, I'm Carl, founder of Epic Made, and I'm the host of the Pixel Retentive Podcast, where we share our thoughts on creativity, art, and business. Past guests include V. Bria, animator, creator, and director, Mark Sinosa, founder of Profanity Creative, and Lenny Gray of Lens Piece. Today's episode is brought to you in part by AIGA. The 2025 AIGA Design Conference hits Los Angeles October 9th through the 11th for its 40th anniversary. 3 days of creative energy, connection, and growth with some of the brightest minds in design. As a Pixel Retentive listener, you get 15% off. Just use the code EPICLISTENERS at checkout. Grab your spot at aiga.org. This is a fantastic opportunity for growth and networking in the design community. And as always, Pixel Retentive is brought to you by the creative gurus at Epic Made. Epic Made is a creative studio that brings entertainment, quality animation, and illustration to brands that want to stand out in gaming, tech, and pop culture. We help companies tell stories that resonate with nerdy, imaginative audiences and turn viewers into communities. Visit getepicmade.com and let's collaborate on your next creative campaign. All right, did the sponsorship, only messed up a little bit. With us today, we have Lo Harris. Welcome to the show, Lo.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you. So, Lo is an artist and illustrator known for her vibrant, empowering work that merges visual storytelling with social impact. With roots in journalism at the New York Times and NBC News, Lo's vibrant, purpose-driven illustrations have led to collaborations with global brands like Meta, Google, and the United Nations. Most recently, Lo has served as creative lead at the Innocence Project and co-directs the Can Diversity's Collective Ambassador Program, championing inclusion and transformation in creative industries. That's quite a fun little resume you got there.
Oh, man. I can't help but get into social impact in everything I do. It's been haunting me my whole life.
Haunting's an interesting word. It's sort of just like, it draws you to it so much you can't not do it. You can't not say something. You can't not go, that's whack. We got to talk about this.
It's like when you have opinions and you have creative outlets and you're just like, man, I just feel like I see people struggling and I think I can help them, with creativity and with, ingenuity and with community building. It's been an honor and a pleasure to kind of find that thread throughout all the places because I've worked in so many different industries. I've done journalism, entertainment, nonprofit. I've done freelance, and all of them are tied together by my love of humans. I really love people, and I love different types of people. I love the diversity and where people come from, what they deal with, and I love seeing how creative ways of structuring conversations and movements and ideas can really put people on the same page and get them excited.
I love all of that. Speaking to my own heart there, as we were chatting earlier, I do lots of advocacy work myself, and I'm on the guild and been a part of AIGA and all the things. But yeah, so look, I want the audience to get to know you a little bit better. So, how long have you been in the industry, and what project are you most proud of so far?
I've formally been in the industry since, I guess, my internship days. I went to Northwestern and studied journalism. And there I fell in love with video, particularly video editing. And this was during the time of Vox videos, like around 2016, 2015, and the rise of those explainers. And that was really the first time I'd seen animation used in a way to really stimulate and transfer information in the way that they were doing. It was just so effective at the time. And there were no courses, at the time at school that really reflected that. So I started teaching myself After Effects for my journalism courses. And I was known as the kid in class who, everyone has their packages, but I'll always throw some graphics in there. And, the keyframes were flat, but baby, I was throwing the keyframes. Okay. It was all self-taught. But before that, even, I've been very interested in advertising and marketing. My dad is always, he never worked in advertising and marketing, but he's always been like a little bit of an independent student of it,
Oh,
very
cool.
interested in it. Got me, thinking about those things very early on. And I've always loved communication in general. So I don't know. I feel like I'm a lifelong like industry, like lover, observer, or nerd about it. And I feel like I really got the opportunity to formally engage it, after college around 2018. So I'm not a math girl, I'm an ideas girl. So you can do the
Okay.
math. It's 2018 to now. But I definitely, yeah, like that's me. That's where I come from.
I love all the different kind of perspectives and angles that you come at this from, and this breadth of experience, because I think that really is what creates good connection, good communication, good art. Having different perspectives from different areas of life, and then you don't ever lose those when you go and get a new one. So now you have this unique lens in which you look through things, which is very cool. And I imagine your background, in journalism also kind of helps communicate things on a now you gotta have like the both sides visual and with words, and like that's kind of a superpower for some people, that not everybody can do that, right? Usually they got one or the other kind of thing, so that's cool.
It all flows together, like it's like even sometimes I think about my time in journalism versus my time in more commercial work, and they're kind of two sides of the same coin. We're dealing
Mm,
with attention, we're dealing with
yep.
people's attention spans, and we're trying to use design in both cases to engage that audience where they're at, culturally, mentally, technology wise.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think journalism is very righteous. It's all about truth and educating and letting people know what's going on. And then commercial is all about selling things. So it's like they're kind of like like twin sisters, you know what I mean, who are very opposite, but they
Yeah.
they operate the same way, they use the same tools, they do the same things. And so getting to work on both sides of that and to kind of step away from both industries and be like, okay, it gives me a unique way of relating to how do I want to fit into that system and how do I want to use my gifts in that way.
I love it. I love it. So I think today we were looking at talking about creative ecosystems and why community matters now more than ever. Obviously, your experience from all angles of that, I think, kind of ties into this community building aspect. I love what you've talked about. You and I have talked a little bit about what you're doing with the Canes Award, the Can Awards thing, right? So like, I love that. Historically, there's a specific demographic which that dominates all these awards. Although there's plenty of creative that comes out from all different metrics and does equally as well. So why are they not getting the same representation? I think that's the core message, right? Or am I
Well, the
where did
core
I triple up a
message,
little?
right? Well, no, there's no tripping up. I think that is like a part of it, right? I think that and I can speak from my personal experience of the program. So, the Can Diversity Collective was founded by a woman named Adrienne C. Smith. And Adrienne had been in the advertising industry for quite a while and has created a lot of different inclusion efforts throughout her career. So has this history of like creating spaces where more people can be included, right?
Mhm.
And when she got to the festival, she went as a voyeur. And she went as just someone like she didn't have a place to stay. She wasn't with a company. She wasn't sent by her company. She just went and made it happen. And what she saw there was that this was a space where so many culture shaping ideas and conversations were being had, but the people who were invited to the table were not representative of the communities that will be impacted by a lot of these creative decisions and discussions around marketing and advertising and the global culture at large. And so
Mm.
her mission started with just trying to bring young people, any young people, to the festival. She brought people. I was in the third cohort of young people she brought to the festival. And then that mission of just bringing young people from there expanded into a more concentrated effort to really bring diverse voices and people into those spaces so that they can experience like not just the awards, because the awards is one thing, like the accolades is one thing, but there's a wealth of education and like there are things that when I went to that festival I did not know about and I would have never known about had I not gone to that festival, and just being in the room with that knowledge has enriched my career and the way that I move in the world. And so the idea is just to provide that enrichment opportunity for as many people as possible. And the people from my cohort from the third year, we were kind of one of the first cohorts to stand up and say, this lady's been doing this all by herself. It wasn't like official fancy. It was like piecemeal. We didn't know where we were sleeping. We just make it happen.
I
And
love
we
it.
stood up and said, we want to be a part of helping this. And so succession planning is a big thing where now we've built this community of past ambassadors brought by former ambassadors to build this community and to build this system where we've brought, art directors from New Zealand. You know what I mean?
Oh,
We
cool.
brought people from Taiwan. We brought people from various parts of the globe to be a part of this cohort. Students from HBCUs, like just various people. We put them in a community together in an industry where, you can't always show your true self. And we give them an opportunity to make global friendships that will last their entire careers. And even for myself, the CCDC experience has been a foundational part of my creative community and the people that I work with and call on a daily basis just to spitball ideas and to collaborate on different things, because everyone brings a different skill set and they're all doing it on a volunteer basis. So we all want to be there. It's like kind of like the Fantastic Four or the X-Men or something. I feel like a mutant every time I'm doing things with them because we do it all with no budget, no staff, and somehow we get 20, 30 people out there and ready to see the world and see where they can fit into it, where they had never had that perspective before.
That's pretty awesome. I love that. And I don't even know all the details of what goes on in that award show. So I'd imagine, I guess it's a whole festival. It's not just an award show, right? Or yeah,
It's a
okay.
festival, so the way they set it up, and like lots of brands will come and lots of entities will come, but it's a lot of thought leadership, right? There are a lot of activations. Like for example, I got to use and test out Meta Ray-Bans before they were really as commercially accessible,
Hmm.
to the public. And being able to see that technology then gave me ideas like a year in advance for, oh, how am I going to use this technology for some of the things that I'm working on? How can I implement these new tools into my creative ecosystem?
Yeah.
So there's a lot. There are the awards, there are the fringe events. CCDC, we're a fringe event. We like literally against all odds somehow create, like, we rent a beach, like just like all the big brands rent beaches, but they have money. We don't have money. Somehow we raise the money to rent a beach and we create a fringe event during the festival that promotes diversity and promotes these conversations and encourages these companies to engage, the value that adds to any like commercial ecosystem. It's just social impact 101.
Yeah.
Diversity really helps.
I
And
love that.
it's just a big festival.
Hell yeah. That sounds amazing. I definitely, we definitely want to get into that some more for sure. And I think that, there's a lot of potential collaborations with other organizations there too. So very cool.
Absolutely.
So you mentioned, that you think community matters now, maybe more than ever. What are your thoughts behind that?
Well, I mean, if you go on LinkedIn, every time you look on LinkedIn, somebody's getting laid off.
Mm,
Somebody is real. Like, I mean, the job market is tough right now. And I
it
think
is.
that it's tough coming off of like a really sensitive situation with lockdown, and post lockdown, in the ways that many corporations have built up this ethos within their companies that, your work family is your family, this is your community. And I think have definitely felt that way, where I felt like a lot of my life was spent thinking about work and thinking about the politics at work and thinking about the ecosystem at work and defining myself and my identity by the workplace that I am engaging. And
Mm,
now that's being taken away from people, and they're realizing like, oh, a 9 to 5 job isn't necessarily the most stable thing, right? Because I mean, it can be taken away from you too. Like nothing in this world is completely stable,
no.
And I think that it hits even harder for people because there are these gaps in communities. People during the pandemic have lost their third spaces.
Oh
They have
yeah.
lost like touch and contact with people outside of their work. So people are quite literally feeling like they're losing everything right now because so
Mm.
much culturally has been invested in our relationship to corporations, the corporations we work at, the places we work at.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And a lot of those third spaces, the Starbucks or like local versions of that. Not, obviously, uh, no sponsorship here with Starbucks, but the coffee shops and things of that nature. Like a lot of those closed down. A lot of the mom and pop level ones in COVID, right? And we saw people lose their second and third space at the same time when we were on lockdown, right? And then some of us just
Mhm.
never went back. Like I got rid of my office and like now I just like I'm pretty much right here in this spot on the earth. Like for a large chunk of my week every week, which is crazy. Um, yeah, so it's interesting. There's a lot of disconnect in there, but like these types of gatherings and events, going to things like I still I do conventions and stuff pretty often. It's always nice to interact with people, but I used to do a lot of networking and a lot of just going different places and meeting people in person, even for a meeting. Like I haven't had an in-person meeting in probably years that I can think of because I don't even do a lot of local business anymore. So, yeah.
Right.
And if I lived by myself, I mean, I have a wife and a son and like, way too much stuff to do regardless and little farm and like whatever here. So we're always busy. But like if I lived like in New York and didn't have like anybody, I was by myself, I'd be really lonely. That would be a problem. So, yeah.
There would be a problem, but Carl, what are you growing right now in your farm? What you growing?
Let's see. Well, we got chickens. We got every kind of food you can think of, fruits and trees. I got apples and avocados and
That is
oranges
so,
and lemons
uh,
and pecans
wow.
and
How long
pawpaws
have you
and
been cultivating the
pomegranates.
farm?
A long time.
How long have you been doing this?
We've been here about 13, 15 years,
Oh
14
my
years. My kid was
goodness.
little.
Wow.
So I think we're coming up on 14 years. Yeah. Yeah.
That is so lovely. Like I started, my gardening practice a couple of years ago when I moved into my New York apartment.
Mhm.
Well, I'm in Queens, and now I'm finding I'm like, I'm thinking about where I want to go next, and I'm finding like, man, like if I really want the garden of my dreams, I really have to cultivate it over years and years and years because it's like that first installment of the blackberry bush is nothing compared to like the fourth iteration of it coming back to life after the dead of winter. It's
I
always
have
so
probably
good hearing about.
100 row hedge of blackberry. Like it's absurd.
Wow.
I can't even pick it all.
Wow.
Like it's
Oh,
stupid.
I aspire. I aspire. I just want a big old piece of land and start making me some blackberry pie.
Yeah, I only have like about a little over an acre, but it's still just like you can put a lot of food on that. And I started growing as a need to offset my fear kind of mindset. Well, initially, like at a different house when I lived, in another city close to here, like we just had a little splot of land. We were super poor. We graduated in the recession, like 2008, right? So, well, my wife had like an amazing job offer at the EPA that got rescinded, and like we're just panicked. So I started this business, and like I didn't know what I was doing. We weren't making any money. We were on food stamps. We were poor as shit. And we are like, well, let's see if we can just grow something in this topsy turvy thing. So we like grew some
That is
tomatoes,
where,
and
ooh,
then it just took off from there. We just fell in love with it. I mean, my wife studied, like some like horticulture and stuff in college as part of like a few classes as part of her education. And then I grew food and stuff when I was a kid a little bit because I grew up on like 4 acres in like a like pretty rural spot. But like maybe like all summer or two, we had a little garden, not like what I'm doing here. And it's funny, my brother's doing the same thing. But he's got like 70 acres. So like he's growing crazy amounts of stuff. But it's just fun.
I feel like that's so what you said about being in a moment in your life where you feel very uncertain and
Hmm.
you are having to be resourceful
Yeah.
and being able to plant something and do something for yourself that now like fast forward it's like this abundant anchor in your life. I think that is really the spirit of what I hope, even going back to like our discussion, what I hope people can get, from this time in the job market right now. I think, again, a lot of people are losing what feels like their entire lives. And I, for one, like I stepped away from my, 9 to 5 job earlier this year to focus on my mental health, my physical health, just everything about that. I mean, I was having back problems. I was struggling at work. Like it was very emotionally heavy work on top
Yeah.
of whatever, just like people politics that come with any workplace. And when I stepped away from that, it definitely impacted my ego. I felt very rocked by that because I had spent so my entire career feeling like my worth was tied to my use and what I did. And I was living
Mm.
in this like kind of transactional headspace where if I wasn't able to prove myself and prove my performance, that somehow I just wasn't good enough. And sometimes systems accidentally, like play into that, right? In order just to get the job done. It's not like they're trying to make you feel that way, but it doesn't hurt business if you feel that way. So who's going to stop it? But, even for myself, I left my job and I was like, okay, what now? It's like work is slow. Like it's time for me to be resourceful. It's time for me to say, you know what? Like, how do I pare down my lifestyle? Like, what do I want to prioritize? How do I simplify things? And even in the last 3 or so months, like my life has changed dramatically. I've lost almost 20 pounds. Like I eat very healthy. I'm a big yoga practitioner and
Same.
I'm finding alignment in my art and in a way that even when I was really busy, I didn't really feel fully aligned with, what I was doing. So I think times like that where it feels like things are like you feel like you need to brace, those are the moments where, lives are built.
100%. Yeah, it's funny. Like every time I've gotten to a place of desperation within the business, my back's against the wall. That's when like the best version of me comes out, where it's like, oh no, I'm like laser focused and like ADD is not a problem, and like boom, 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 lining stuff up. And yeah, I think over the years, every time things have gotten hard or there's an uncertainty or a question if I can keep doing this or whatever that looks like, it's like the ideas of like, hey, well, I'm becoming more and more self-reliant, right? Like that was the first thing that kind of happened with the foods. Like, well, I can't get enough. Like the food stamps literally didn't do what we needed to do in terms of like wasn't enough. Like, and it just was. We're just still struggling, so we're trying to supplement with some actual nice, good things. And then we realized, well, this is actually kind of fun and kind of easy. And like then we started just planting more and more. And then we moved here. It was like when we moved to this house, we wanted a place that had a bigger piece of land, transform the whole thing. But as I've grown, I used to like really value myself, like you said, on like, oh well, how much profit do we make? How much money do I make? And how successful am I? And when I realized like a paradigm shift on that was just like it isn't really about that. It's like how happy am I, and how much abundance do I have, and how much self reliance
Mm,
do I have? Like how long can I sustain myself on this thing and like on this
mm,
life without having other people needed to? I don't have funders. I don't have like all that. Like we just figure it out, right? So it's like I'm building a little thing that like builds this community of creatives who all think and value the same kind of stuff that I do, and it is like a family, right? Like, but they all saw during COVID like how those 9 to 5 jobs aren't so secure, right? Like I had a couple friends of mine that have been, corporate people for long and get laid off, and then they don't know what's going on, and they're in all this, and the same thing's happening now again with AI and all the stuff in the marketplace there. And it's like I didn't fire anybody. I didn't even give anybody a pay cut. Like I had to take a pay cut. I didn't get paid for months at one point, but like that was my how I chose to run the business and decide to like I know I'm going to need all these people and like leaders eat last kind of mindset. So, and it always pays off eventually. Just we go through hard times,
mm,
and as the crazy person in front, I shield everybody, right? But that's that
mm.
community building and like making sure that we all, looking out for each other. And I don't know, it's sort of I'm a little ADD today. I apologize, but I feel like that tied into what you were saying.
Don't apologize. Everything you said, I love when like people are really cooking and they're saying something really real, and then they like are like, "But I'm being ADD." No, you're saying like you're in your moment, in your truth, and like what you have to offer in that moment is like so real and so valid. Like we're relating to each other.
Sure.
And yeah, I totally feel like all of that, and I think that's where the community started to pour into me because I am a person who has historically had a very hard time asking for help. I don't like to ask anyone for anything. I was actually talking to my mom earlier today, and she was like, yeah, I was talking to my friend the other day and talking about how you never asked us for any money in college. And the one time you asked for money, it was for like a specific amount and it was for like a textbook. You're like, I need $32 for a textbook. And you're like, okay, here, take the $32, but for me, it was like really important that for me, generally, I like to be independent. I like
Yeah.
to know that if my back is against the wall, that I can do this. But as I've gotten older as well, I've started to realize that, my back don't really need to be on the wall. And if it
Right.
is on the wall, it don't have to be that tight. And also, I don't have to be by myself.
Yep.
And then I started realizing, oh my God, like, and you're going to figure this out, like, as you get further in your career, for anyone who's listening, who's like new or anything, because when we're younger, everyone's scrappy. No one knows what's going on. We're all just trying to like make it. But then when you see your friends start to climb in their careers and you're doing your thing and you're meeting new people as you get older and you understand what you want a little bit more, then you start to see opportunities to collaborate.
Yep.
Something that I found interesting is that during 2020, 2021, when my business was the most booming and I had the most commercial interests and the most commercial gigs, that was when it was the hardest time to collaborate with others because everybody wanted I think monetary money was the most important thing, and everybody wanted to feel like they were getting their worth, like they were charging their worth. And now I've found that now when I'm like, I don't really got nothing, and my friends they're like, I don't got nothing. We are just like so fluid in our collaborations, and we're building partnerships with each other on that mutual aid level
Yeah.
that like will maybe blossom into something like really intense and really powerful later on. But like we're actually sharing our brains. We're having a brain trust, like, and that's the situation for like, my producer, Kaylin. You met Kaylin,
Yep.
and actually that was the person I was going to shout out,
Oh,
but
cool.
Kaylin is like amazing because she's this amazing video game producer. She worked in video games since she got out of college. She is so organized and she is so executionary in her approach. And I'm like a visionary, so I see things and I can build systems and all of that. But like I'm not the one who's going to follow a schedule. Like I flow with the wind.
Yep.
And when we finally decided to work together, we were at like a diner in Chicago, and I was like, "Do you think we should?" And she was like, she thought about it and called me one day and said, "Yeah, let's do it." And so now we're like, we have a brain trust where there's someone who is not only one of my best friends, but also someone who has a skill that I really need, and then I have a skill that she really enjoys working with, and the things that we're able to create together and build together is like, supporting both of us, and it doesn't just have to be about design or, creative. It could even just be about, local businesses. Like something that I've been doing is I have this thing where sometimes I have business ideas all the time, or I see businesses and I really love human behavior, and I'll look at things and I'll look at the way that people are using objects or like moving through spaces. And I can like physically think through, well, if you move this here, you do this there, then the flow of traffic will go better. And then you'll be able to convert more customers in your smoothie shop or something
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So I said, what if I actually went up to a business that I liked, that I genuinely liked, and just offered my services on a pinky promise for a smoothie a week? So that's exactly what I did. Like there's
Okay.
a smoothie shop in my neighborhood. They're the only place where I can get healthy food, fresh salads, fresh smoothies. And I went to them. I said, look, I have this marketing degree from Northwestern. I've done all this work. I have this design thing. I see some stuff that we can do. Let's rewrite your menu so that the copy reads a little bit smoother and people are less confused. Let's move these chairs right here so that people know that they can sit right there instead of standing over the counter watching you make smoothies. Let's do little adjustments, little human-centered adjustments that don't take money from you. It doesn't take you having to do a big fancy rebrand. It just takes being present, paying attention, and relating to the people who are coming into that space. And since we started working together, they have totally blossomed like a new lease and new excitement around their business where they're like, let's make new recipes, let's do this. And to be able to use design thinking in my community that way, and I get a free salad. Like
Yeah.
now I go in there, I have salads. I have salads on demand now,
I
which is
love it.
important for me.
Yeah.
And salads are expensive in New York, but it's like
No,
working with that community.
sure. No, I love the community approach for sure. And it takes all different types. You were talking about like you're the visionary and you have this, you're Kayla, right? Was that her
Yeah,
name?
Kaylin.
Okay, Kaylin.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, so it reminded me of the EOS system. So it's like every successful operation, and he's like, when you look into it, at the very top, there's a big dreamer, the visionary with all these big ideas, and there's an implementer, someone that knows how to break it down and get the shit done, right? Like so. I just basically heard you saying that essentially, and I have the same thing at my business. Ross, who co-hosts with me sometimes, is my creative director. He's been with me for 12 years and he's really good at like systemizing and just getting the things done and just
Mm,
rolling through it. And I'll have a bunch of great ideas and he'll be like, well, that's great and this is great and we could use that part of this over here and this stuff's crazy, Carl, maybe next time. And
yeah.
but that's what you need, right? And you need to have like real interactions with people that like you enjoy and value their special skill sets and their perspective, and vice versa. And
Yeah.
you said some of that too. So those are always healthy, productive collaborations in my experience. So
Yes, it is. It is always. I was joking with Kaylin like today. I was like, you're just like if I was like a capybara or something, like like symbiotic relationships in nature. I feel
yeah.
like you just a little guy holding an apple on a stick in front of me, and I'm like kind of chasing the apple. Like I tell you, like here's the plan, and then you're like, great, and then I just like chase the apple, and she like kind of steers the apple. Like, and like we get so much done that way.
That's amazing. Yeah, that is a great visual for sure. I could see that translating to many other people in similar situations. This is really fun. So, what other type of advocacy work have you been involved in recently? I know you said you did the can stuff. Is there other things going on, or?
Not well. I think that the thing I'm interested in, and touching back on the smoothie shop thing, is I'm noticing my love of local business
Ooh,
emerging. Like
yeah.
I really like local businesses and I want to see them succeed. And I think living in New York and seeing local businesses like all the time, it's like in New York, it's really easy to just like take them for granted because when one local business fails, the next one rolls over and takes their space. And but it doesn't, but then something is lost in that. I think that businesses are the foundation of any community, of any neighborhood.
Of course.
And when the businesses are able to establish themselves in such a way where they know how to serve the communities that are there and they know how to welcome the communities that are coming in,
Mm,
it creates like a very harmonious system between the old and the new. Gentrification is a big conversation in many metropolitan areas, and I feel like
everywhere.
now it's this buzzword where we just say it and we just automatically are like, but like we say it but we don't talk about it, we don't dissect it, and then we often talk about it around like specifically racial lines. But even thinking about it in terms of just like community organizing lines, it's like I think that when like the big corporations start to get money or real estate inside of certain communities, that's when things start to change and when communities start to feel alienated and isolated. And unfortunately, too, it takes two to tango. Sometimes small businesses can get like a little complacent and they just assume like, well, I've always been here, and they don't feel the need to like maybe change things in order to like reimagine or readjust based on how the community is changing to kind of introduce people and reintroduce people. I think
Mm,
that people aren't comfortable reintroducing themselves in business. We give the same sales pitches about ourselves that we've been given for years, but for every talk I do, I rewrite my bio. I do a different bio for every talk I do because I know that I have a breadth of experience from so many different things. And I want to be intentional about how I introduce myself in the spaces I'm entering to ensure that there are many touch points of connection for us.
Yeah.
And I think that businesses can benefit from that mindset as well. So that, okay, if new people are moving to town, how do I reintroduce my business? You know what I mean? How do we like hold down the community and the culture of the community and welcome our new neighbors without pushing people out or inviting like hyper commercial, like the Chipotle's or, you know what I mean? The big
Right. Yeah.
places
Yeah.
that really push people out.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. It really boils down to just constantly engaging with the community, constantly seeing what's going on, and not just kind of like, oh, well, riding on the success of previous years or we're this established company. Like, especially in big metropolitan areas like you're in, like it changes and evolves a lot, right? Like and so you've got to be ahead of that. My siblings both own restaurants out here in Virginia Beach, and I've helped them build their brands and do all the visual side of all the things, and they do really well. But the thing that keeps them really engaged is that they really engage with the community. They do lots of community events. They have an annual cleanup event where they just like donate their time and a bunch of space at the restaurant. Everyone comes in there and they all organize some things and go out and like clean up all the streets and stuff just to be a part of the community, just to be out there. They don't make any money on it. And it's not directly like,
Mhm.
oh, well, we want people to see us so they'll
Mhm.
come buy hamburgers. It's like, no, we're here and we
Right,
give a shit. We're part of this space. Like we want our space to be nice. We want everything
right.
around here to be great for all of the people. That includes
It
us.
all feeds into it. If I'm
Yeah.
walking on a clean street and I look up and I see your business, I'm way more likely. I mean, it's like even and what I was saying about the smoothie shop, I've started like kind of opening myself up to kind of doing these like trades where I'm like, this person has like a really good energy and I think they're going to contribute something really nice to the world. I
Mm,
want to help them align it. And I'm working with an influencer, right now who's like been trying to create a lot of content around, enjoying New York City with dignity without busting your budget. You know what I mean? And just having fun as a single woman entering her 40s. And I'm like, this is a great message. Let me help you align. And so I'm doing that for her pro bono in exchange for she takes me to Broadway shows. I mean, it's just, I mean, like when money is the end goal, or like when they're focused on making money and you're focused on making money off of them, things get stagnant. But if there are people that you trust, that you can create brain trusts with and kind of say,
mm.
no, let me help you. Here's what I need. It's like, who knows? Like the smoothie shop could end up becoming a franchise and tapping me, and then it'll pay off later, but it's just a pleasure for me because I'm a yogi. I love yoga
Same.
and I need protein after my workout. And I want to be able to go get something healthy. And like that helps me do that. It's helping me on my health journey. And the community aspect is so powerful.
100%. And you keep talking about health and wellness and yoga and all. And it's like, and this community aspect too, right? And I didn't think about it. I do have another sort of space I connect with, and that's the yoga studio I go to. And when I first started going there about 2 years ago, like money was still not doing super well. We kind of hit a rough spot. And, I just didn't have the funds to do this, like, $25 a visit. And I like to go like 4 times a week. That adds up quick, right? So I worked out a trade with them, and I literally did an entire studio worth of artwork. So I go in there and take pictures of all the instructors doing like whatever their favorite pose is, and
That's
turn
your
them into this
gift.
crazy collaborative stuff that's like beautiful. So now when I go in there, there's 20 pieces of my art on the walls, and it's all a posthumous collaboration with my dad. So like I include all of his art like pieces in every single one, and this was something we talked about when he was alive. So it's like once I put them all up one day, like after like we'd done a whole bunch of them, and I got to hang them up. I just went into and it's hot yoga too, so like I just get in there and just laid down and just got in the child's pose and just cried because it just felt so good, and it was just like this
Yes.
deep accomplishment, and like it just I
Carl,
don't know, it's cool. So
that's beautiful, Carl. Like this is why you were given the gifts that you have. Like
sure,
this is why we have the gifts that we have. Our gifts are meant to be shared. You
yeah,
can't hide your gifts or wait for somebody to like, reward you for the gifts or exchange the gifts. Like everything doesn't have to be so transactional. That is a beautiful story. Like that is
yeah.
exactly that like really sticks with me.
And now I can like
And I
sleep through the
think it
night. My
takes.
back doesn't hurt, and like I'm like I'm 40, so it's like I've had 3 ACL surgeries, and like, but now I feel really good and really strong, and like I'm not like killing myself. But it's because I created a situation there that I probably couldn't have afforded otherwise, and now it's all like I don't know. That's part of that community thing, right? Like So yeah.
And I think that when corporations or like agents with a lot of money, right, see communities taking care of each other, that re-regulates them. That makes them like actually have to come towards these communities with respect because they can
And
no longer
value,
just
real
come to you
value.
with the bare minimum.
Yeah,
Value.
exactly.
They can't just come up to you with the bare minimum. The townspeople have their pitchforks and their pitch spoons ready.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yep.
What do you have to offer the townspeople?
Yep.
Please. Because like that's why billionaires were building museums and stuff back then. Our billionaires don't do anything for us now. Like
That's
they just
true.
take all our money.
I
So
know.
I mean,
It's not so true.
it really is like, like it really is like, I mean, all of us, the thing that we all have in common, a lot of us is we are working class people, and we are
Mhm.
working class people who are creating art, who are building communities, who have all of these talents, who have all of these gifts. And I think that the isolation in combination with like the way that people have really kind of put um work on a pedestal is like this thing to define them, has
Right.
created a system where people are not aware of the gifts of others, the gifts of themselves. They're a little bit scared of being taken advantage of, so they're not as open to trading or bartering or engaging people. And there's, I mean, I say this from experience. There was a time, like I said, it was harder for me to collaborate then versus now. When I was making money, with all the Shishi brand collaborations and everything, I would turn down, like, it was so much attention that I had to pay to those things that if someone came to me with a simple request, even someone I loved and cared about, I just couldn't even hold space for that. Now it's like one of my god sister's daughters is running for prom queen or homecoming queen down in Bessemer, Alabama, and you better believe I'm gonna be designing her homecoming poster.
Heck yeah.
Like, I don't care how many books I write. I don't care. I'm like, yeah, I will design your homecoming poster.
Of
Um,
course.
because that matters, and that's what we're remembered for.
That's beautiful. I love that. Yeah, definitely. When you get too busy though, it does get a little crazy. I've been there a few times where it's like, people come to me. It's like, I'd love to be able to help this person out, but to like literally make room in our production schedule, like I've got to charge them, $5,000 for something that, like, they shouldn't pay $5,000 for that. Like it just
Yeah,
doesn't make sense. So getting in those spots is always difficult. But
yeah. It
fortunately for
definitely
me,
is a balance.
yeah, yeah, for sure. So you gotta always play with that, but definitely, I made all like the graduation announcements for like all my nieces and nephews, and like whatever, all kinds of stuff like that. I love doing that. It's like, and there'll be that one kid that's like got this super ridiculous professional level thing, and everyone else is like, I got my stuff made at Kinko's, but it's like, I just
I
that
love
makes me
that.
feel good, when I just get to do something super extra for somebody. So, um, yeah. Oh man. But yeah, just thinking about yoga. I haven't been in a couple days. I've been overworking.
Oh yeah, I
My,
got my favorite yoga teacher. I'm about to go to her class. That's another Skillshare where I can't afford. Like, you know what I mean? Like all the really expensive yoga classes. So I'm like she mentioned, like, hey, like you draw, right? I want to make a zine, and I'm like, I'll help you make a zine. And I was like, okay, now I'm doing yoga and drawing a zine. That's great.
and that benefits everybody, right? And if you swapped it out
Everyone
for like the
wins.
the money parts of it, it would get weird, and then no one would do it, right? Like so. That's something I think every creative should be aware of, whether you're, a writer or even just a strategist. Like your skills have so much value across so many different markets and so many different places. Like I can't even begin to think about the number of times I've done bartering and trading and like figured out like, oh, I didn't mow my yard for at least a decade because my lawn guy wanted to look like $1 million, and he did, like, and he scaled his whole business up and like ended up not doing residential stuff anymore, so I had to buy my own mowers and that stuff. But yeah, like everything you can imagine. I never paid for food at my brother's restaurants ever, and they barely paid me whatever to get. They didn't have any money to get started either. So but now they're doing really well, and like whenever I want to go have a party and I take a bunch of my friends, like they've never made me pay for anything, right? And that's because I've helped them build their brands. And it's just fun to have those kind of things. And you have your clients that pay your bills, but you
Yeah,
should have those relationships with people where you help each other out, and that really
yeah.
is something special, I think. So
Knowing your worth is such a big thing because
mm,
I'm speaking specifically to the design creative community, right? Creativity, society benefits from creatives not knowing their value, but
yes,
society benefits more when we know our value. It benefits exponentially more when we know our value.
Society as a whole, right? And then there's a
Yeah,
part of
as a whole,
society
like
that
certain
benefits
parts of
good from. Yeah,
society,
yeah,
because you think about it, it's like, okay, if I'm like a suit and I'm just going to call people who are more executive, administrative, don't have any creative, I'm just calling them suits now.
yep,
If I'm a suit, already, even to get to that position, I probably have to like not like people that much because there are certain social norms in corporate America to get to that executive level that kind of makes you like a little bit like not a people person, or especially you're not accessible to people. So how are you able to relate to people on the daily basis?
right.
You have to hire creative people to help you communicate what you're trying to do to everyday people who you don't even interact with probably on the
Mm,
daily basis because
right,
you're a
yeah.
suit. So it's like, so y'all don't got no social skills and you asking us to help you translate, look good or whatever. And then you're also devaluing the creative, like, oh, you should be happy to have a job like this, or like, isn't this fun? Isn't this cute? Like, can you whip up a little? One of my old bosses used to always be like, oh, just like do something, whip it up. You know what I mean? Just very dismissive about
Yeah,
like
it's like, oh,
the
you love
gift.
this and it's dainty and fun and you do it anyway, so just do it for mostly for free for us. It's
Right.
like, no.
Right. And it's crazy how like that's the, because at first for a while I thought that, okay, maybe they're speaking to me because I'm a woman, maybe they're speaking to me because I'm a black woman, a young black woman, whatever. And it's like, but being a creative off bat, like puts you in this position where people make assumptions about the value of your work and they assume that you're being paid just by doing this, right? Like, yo, you have fun work. And it's like when you know as a creative that you have the capacity to connect, you build bridges, you build
Mm,
visual bridges. Humans are visual creatures, and you are one of those humans who is able to build visual bridges and convert people into being able to participate in or engage in or support whatever cause you're working for. There's this book that I'm reading right now, and I'm actually going to talk about it in my guild talk. This book, The Attention Merchants by Tim Wu, I highly recommend that any designer reads this book so that you can clearly understand from historical perspectives and anecdotes the value that your work brings to anything. This book has case studies about anything from journalism, like the first like journalism ads and like the first like big penny newspaper and how that came about. It talks about like war recruitment during World War II and how they used creative to willingly get people to enlist in World War II without conscription. These things are powerful, guys. Like
crazy
these things are
powerful.
so powerful. And we need to know because if we knew our power and we knew what we could do and like what we really are doing outside of just the deliverable and being locked into the, let's just get this deliverable out, let's make this deadline. If we knew the big picture and really understood it every single day, I think people would use their gifts in very different ways.
I wholly agree
And
with
they would
you.
also have different standards.
And that's part of what my motivation is to, participate in the graphic artist guild on the advocacy side there, because it really is all about the business side of being a creative, right? We're focused on the, hey, like, how do you price yourself? What's fair pricing? Well, let's survey the entire industry and get actual numbers and then put that into a book. And we're doing that again, like, so that we're releasing the 17th edition with, I mean, all kinds of really amazing information there and sample contracts and how do you position yourself for licensing and pretty much all the ins and outs of the business side of creativity. And that message in itself kind of resonates through all of what we do. So I love that. Definitely. And we've talked about getting you over there some more. I know you're doing a webinar for us soon too, which I'll be co-hosting there as well. So cool. All right. Well, we're coming up on time. And I really just wanted to say thank you. And so before we should wrap the show up, is there anything or anyone in your career that you'd like to shout out? Any sort of valuable mentor, resource, favorite client, that sort of stuff?
You know, there are so many people that I could shout out, and I'm trying to think, do I want to shout someone out from the design side or like the career side or like from the community organizing side? And honestly, I just want to shout out like my parents. Like I feel like my
Mm,
parents are interesting in that like made a conscious decision to raise a daughter, like a young Black girl, to be confident and to
Mm,
be very protective over that confidence. And though I struggled with confidence in other areas of my life, my first time really being able to leverage that gift that they gave me was in my career, in my corporate career, and in my worth and in my work. And since I've been able to translate it to other things, but having parents who never once made me feel like a creative career was unrealistic. In fact, they made the strategic decisions to actually encourage my creativity in like a
amazing.
way that support my life. Whether it was enrolling me in an arts high school where I studied creative writing for 6 years before college, like intensely, or whether it was, setting up, like, getting me my first byline in the local newspaper and letting me like cover an event as like basically a kid journalist. You know what I mean? Like I think I had
Mm,
my first byline in the Birmingham Times or something in Alabama, like in 2013 or something. Like, and just like kind of doing things, or like my dad would take me to the Black Expo and be like, okay, you're gonna, you can draw your cars, I'll print them on cardstock, you can sell your cards that you drew on Microsoft Paint. Okay, I
yeah.
was drawing cards on Microsoft Paint. My
Yep.
dad would print them out and then let me go and exhibit my work at a local market and sell it and represent my work. I was born to do this because my parents cultivated that in me. And I'm so grateful, so grateful.
Mm.
So that this one goes out to Larry and Freddie.
I love that, and I can fully relate. My dad was an entrepreneur and a creative, and just had that first generation immigrant New York City mindset, where it's like, no one's going to hire you, and even if they did, why? Like, pave your own path, like make your own way. You don't need anybody. And the flip side of that was my mom. So they never discouraged creativity over here either. So I just love hearing that, and that's how people like us are born, with some parents that think differently. Really, is what that's for, what I think that comes from. So,
They
anyways,
do it out of love and not fear. It's all about
yeah,
love, not fear. It's
100%.
fear makes people do crazy things
Yeah, you do
and think
make
it's
all your
normal.
decisions out of fear, and then you're not in a good space, and you're not living a happy
Mhm.
life, and there's some stuff in there you don't need. But speaking of community, I did want to give a big thank you to the Dash Bash community, which is where I met you,
Mhm.
Lo. You did an amazing talk about your career and your journey and all sorts of inspiring things up on that stage. And then, I came and found you, and we met, and here we are. So,
You were
shout
wearing your
out.
little paperboy hat
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
wrote it down and everything. Me and Kayla were like, we're going to see this guy again.
I love that hat. My dad gave me that hat when I was 16, actually. I've been wearing it my whole life.
Mhm.
So I just,
Mhm.
just changed it up today, but I'm trying to, not be one note all the time. It feels a little uncreative. Anyhow, all right. So we've been speaking to Lo, who is an artist, creative strategist, and motivational speaker. You can check out their website at loharris.com. That's LOHARRIS.com. But if listeners want to follow up with you directly, is there somewhere they should go, like LinkedIn, or there's your website, or?
Absolutely. Listen, if you want to follow up with me directly, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. You can email me at hi@loharris.com and me and Kaylin will get back to you. I'm also open to coming to organizations. So if you feel like your organization could benefit from getting some kind of consultation about how to build your creative process in a way that empowers everyone involved in those workflows, I'm very happy to lend a hand there. It's really important for me that creatives are able to advocate and communicate the value of what they bring to the table. It is very rare that the designer or the head of the designers gets a seat in the executive room. They're often, being mouthpiece through people who maybe don't really truly understand the value of what they're doing. And as we approach, AI, and my talk with the guild will be talking about future proofing your career as a designer
Ooh,
around like AI. AI is just one of many waves of things that designers will survive. But I think that first being able to communicate and know how to position your value and your work is going to be the most important part of weathering that moment, So I love this stuff. I love helping people position, strategize, think through these things, position even the messaging for their own careers. I do that freelance. So hit me up. I'm here. I'm a resource. I love people, and I want to see people who are contributing something good to humanity communicate their gifts, because once people know who you are and they see you, they'll love you.
Love that. All right. Well, thanks so much for being on the show, Lo. And this was a great episode. And we will see you all next time, friends. Take it easy.
Bye.
We really hope you enjoyed the show. Please like and subscribe to join us on our next journey through the world of art and business on the Pixel Retentive Podcast.